So I think probably the best chapter for me was the last one. I
I think so.
thought.
The book, when I started, it was very, very hard in the beginning. It was boring. It was
Yeah,
monotone. It also reminded me of the other books that I had. They're the million
yeah.
dollar ones there, whatever. Yeah.
He doesn't give any aha
Yeah. Yeah.
things that we aren't. I mean, I guess it's good that we're just hearing it over and over.
Some of it was good refreshers. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but I guess I read these in hopes to change something that I'm doing, right?
or
I mean,
sometimes something will click that hasn't before or something too.
right.
Yeah.
I some things that sticked out to me the last part was you know, when things shift, you need to shift your business. When
Yeah.
things don't shift, you shift.
Mhm.
I mean, we should always be shifting our marketing, maybe upping our um like the buyer presentation, the listing presentation, like what can we do a little different to stand out? Um
I liked
he
at the end where he did say, like you just said, to stand out, where he says to actually how you prepare to list a house, actually prepare the same way for a buyer.
Mhm.
That's something I'd never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Well, as the discussions for commissions change, things change of how we get paid, we have to shift our business plans, our let me shut my door. You know, how we're doing things. You got to get your business plan or your presentation ready for buyers and you need to up your game. And I guess the first thing we always think of is the commission, but that's not always the case. Like my clients aren't asking for discounts. I'm the one that's offering it. So instead, show them and explain to them how they're going to and why they're paying you what you're worth, right? And I mean, anyone can get into a house. You've got to show them more value besides, oh, I can just register you or get you into this house and show you the property. Like it
Right.
goes beyond that. Um, and same thing with the listings. Um, that's why there's always competition popping up of, flat rate or this is just what we're gonna do and it'll sell the house. Um, but being creative with your listings of, he had a question, someone said, should I stage my house? It shouldn't be should, it should be how do you stage it?
Yeah.
And then what can we do? Which I just get used to doing my same thing over and over, but maybe changing it up for when you have a listing, some agents bring flowers in, some bring in cleaners, some do different things. And I don't know why we change things up between the buyers and the sellers. I really don't.
Hmm.
But I felt like his book was kind of old school still. Like he was
Yeah.
talking, he went on, had a whole chapter about our websites.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought, good morning, ladies. I thought
Hey,
it was, I, I thought I'm a little bit under the weather today.
me
I
too.
thought it was very repetitive and I just didn't feel like I learned anything new. It wasn't anything new at all. It was just, it reminded me of that book, Who Moved My Cheese? Because that's the same idea of, you know, you always got to be open to changing and evolving, and when things change so it was very repetitive and I really didn't get anything out of it. It wasn't something that I read and I felt like, oh wow, I'm totally going to implement this in my business next week. I feel like the Zoom that we had last week gave me way more than the book did.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just coaching versus this. which is disappointing. You know, you spend time
Mhm.
reading these things and, I don't know. I did like, there was one thing that in that, the gift of shift, I just like that chapter out of all of them, but it was, remargin your business and get serious about expense management and profitability. Stop spending money on your business and start investing money in it. So that's a little different, right? Lead with revenue, not expenses. Be a budget bully and make your money smart. But again, he doesn't give um tips like stop spending money on your business and start investing money in it. So I need a breakdown. I'm like, that sounds great, but I don't really know what he means
I
to me.
don't either.
Yeah, I'm
I
like,
don't get it either. Isn't it all the same thing? I mean, if you're spending money in your
yeah,
business, you are investing. I don't really understand that.
yeah. Or I guess take a look at what you're spending money on and is it bringing in ROI, return? Is it a good investment? Which we should be doing that every year in our business planning. So,
I don't think I have ever spent money in my business. Of all everything I've always done, it's always been an like in my mind, it's always been an investment because
yeah,
I don't think anybody in their right mind would say, "Oh, let me spend some money." Every time you put money into something, at least for me, even buying signs, whatever, anything I've ever
yeah,
done, I've always been very cautious. I was never the one to buy, "Oh, I started my real estate career today. Let me buy 20 signs and 15 lock boxes." And I've always been super cautious. I was the one that started out with one lock box. And
yeah,
if I have a second listing, and now I'm going to run over to, well, I guess now it's We Serve, but, and
yeah,
pick up the next lock box. But I was never the one to just blow money on anything. I've always been very cautious. So I think I've always invested money into my business. So that didn't really make a lot of sense to me.
yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, I liked the words, what he said, but again, there was nothing to explain it. Our markets change so fast that sometimes it's hard for agents to make a shift and a change. Um, change is scary. So, and some agents are like, well, I need to master this down before I can try this or do this. And then I feel like you've already missed your opportunity, right? So, um, shifting your business and tracking where the market's going. Like sometimes that's why I like to jump on the Cromford report meetings just so I can get a feel for really. But again, I feel like those people they don't know either. None of them do. None of the economists can even agree right now on where we're going to be for this year or next year. Um,
It is one thing that he kind of commented on is you never know when it's going to shift.
no, you don't. I just think to stay in and keep your business going, it's it's try to be positive and try to adjust and I think the older we get, that can be hard. We're just used to doing the
Mhm.
same things, repetitive.
Yeah.
But like Carol's getting better about, I think you almost post more videos now than I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I've
you
been
know,
working on that one. Yeah.
yeah, but that even John is talking that we've got to do that because that's what all the statistics, that's what everyone's watching on social media.
Yeah.
Like they're not, if we just put out, hey, here's the events for this month, you're promoting the title company, like, because it's just their flyer. So if you made a video talking about what's going on, now people can share that. They're listening to you and you're coming across as someone that knows the area, what's going on.
That's my hardest thing, figuring out what to say.
Yeah,
What is it that they want to hear? What do I want to inform them about?
I think I mean, people are gonna listen to whatever they want to listen to, right?
Mm.
So put up what's important to you, of value of you.
Mm.
Like I got fired up last week from John, and he was saying, make your videos based on the whole buyer presentation. So I went into Chat GPT and pulled up, the checklists of all the buyer stuff. And I made 3 videos, so I need to post one this week and then keep making the videos. So,
Yeah.
and just explaining the process of what is each thing, what does it mean, right? And then you can do it on the seller side. So, adding the captions in there, I think is super important, but it doesn't have to be a fancy, it's just you talking. People like to see you. They like to see your face and say hi, and, um, you know, I did like that he was talking about, they were selling real estate with interest rates of like 18%, and we're struggling with 6 and 7.
Yeah.
So there's people buying and there's people selling. We just have to get our information out to them.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you change? How are you just a little bit different than the other agents? Being creative, I guess.
Well, I think, one thing that he failed to mention is that when they were selling homes at 18%, the prices were $100,000.
Right.
And I think the biggest
Right.
issue that we're running into right now is that people truly don't qualify. I just had 3 different people that did not qualify. The lenders like, oh, you have to wait until next year. The prices are so high. And then all of a sudden, because the prices went super high because the rates were too low.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden the rates went super low, but the prices didn't drop. So people are
Yeah.
truly struggling to qualify right now. And that's completely different than, what happened back then. And I love the attitude of, we're going to survive in any market. That's just how it is. We have all been here all this time. We're always going to do it. But I also think it's funny when people pretend that it doesn't matter. Obviously, it does, because look what was happening in 2020 and 2021. I remember, I think it was October of 2021. I sold I closed 8 houses that month. I've never done that before. And I'm the same person for 20 plus years. And I've always worked the same way. And I've always done the same things. How is it that, 1 month, no matter what I do, I can't get something to close? And then all of a sudden I have a year where things just, close very easily. So it is easier, when prices are normal and interest rates are super low, because everybody wants to buy. And people are moving to bigger houses and things are happening. So yeah, the idea of, oh, you're just being a wimp, it doesn't matter. It's always, you can sell 100 houses anytime, every year. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I disagree with that a little bit. It is easier sometimes than others. It just is. Yes, we can do it no matter what. But I think, no matter what, if you do exactly the same thing, maybe the shift comes in at that point. Because if you continue to, follow up with people, do open houses, do the things that you normally do, I don't know, are there people out there that always sell the same exact amount of houses every year? Maybe. That hasn't really worked out that way for me. I definitely have had my ups and downs, even if I do the same things. And here's a great example. In 2021, 2022, I had so many FSBOs to call all day. It was so easy to find FSBOs. Now all of a sudden I go look for FSBOs in Chandler and there's like 3. I'm like, oh, there's only 3 FSBOs in all of the city of Chandler? That's insane. So, I think it's I'm somewhere in the middle with that, where I do see the changes, and I don't think is as easy as they make it sound when it comes to having the year I had in 2021, having the same year in 2023. I don't know if that
Oh,
makes sense.
yes. No, it is. I mean, to get people to sell right now, they need a reason. Their family, they have a pain, right? They're moving a job or there's something there. Otherwise, there's really no desire because most of the houses right now, they all bought a year or two ago and their interest rates are at 2 and 3%. So why would they change that? Unless they're moving out of state or someone passed away, right?
Right.
So it's finding those. I think that's where maybe our marketing and messaging changes up a little bit to say, hey, if these are your pains, let's talk, right?
And people still have that fear of what is going to happen because of what happened and how quickly it happened.
Well, and that's also because of the news. The news doesn't
Yes.
help, right?
Yeah.
So,
And now everything's more publicized than it ever used to be.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
What will be scary is if they start getting creative financing again because of the prices. That's when we get people that really aren't qualified into properties so hopefully that doesn't change too much. Um,
Do you find at all that you're coming across any, like they've got this new commercial out there right now where they've got the commissions of $990? Is that affecting anybody at all?
I
Have you
haven't
seen
seen
that one?
that. What's it for?
Yeah, it says that, no, you don't have to pay commissions. You just have a flat fee of $990.
I already knew that was gonna come. I think I mentioned it at one of the office
I think
meetings.
you did.
Yeah. And you're gonna see, so just like when there were so many listings, right? It was houses were selling fast when you had tons of FSBOs, you had because people were just out buying and it was a bidders war. So to get the listing, that came down to your commission 100% because you put a sign up or put it on MLS and things were selling. So you always see businesses come up, like you saw more open door offer pad, and they were
Mhm.
all from here. They weren't in other states. So the iBuyer, period, and you had flat rate agents, then they just, oh, I'll list your house for $500. Well, the same thing is going to happen with buyer agents. I'll write the contract for you for a flat fee, $500, $900. That's it. You don't have to pay anything else. So as that comes out more, you're gonna see the buyer commissions changing or going away in the MLS. But again, you pay for what you get for.
Yeah.
So the agent is, I don't know, this is what's frustrating is it's always delayed a couple years, right? They're not going to say that those agents, what are they doing? Representing you, doing the Benzer and adding inspections, doing the walkthroughs. What are they really doing for $900? It's just like in a listing presentation. You have to break it down. What are you going to do for the commission?
Yeah.
So same
That's what
thing
it
with
was, 990 for the
Uh-huh.
listing.
So same thing happens because you're trying to get listings. So buyers or sellers, now it's if you pay for what you get, but then in the end, if the consumer's not happy and there's a potential lawsuit, guess who's going to get pulled in? The
Mhm.
agent, the brokerage. So, at what cost do you lower your standards?
Right.
And at some point you have to walk away and go, I'm not going to work with those clients anyways, because they don't value what we do. I could bet you, yeah, I'll write a contract all day long, flat fee, but I'm not going to sit and monitor it for 30 days. But this is the kicker. Now you have the E&O and leases on here. Those brokers are going to get tied in because their name's all over the contract.
Mm.
So, it doesn't matter what you have them sign off on or what you're telling them you're going to do. Same thing with the listing. Someone feels wronged, you're getting pulled in. The problem is it just takes a couple years to catch up. We won't hear about it, right?
Yeah, and you have a fiduciary duty to that client. So you can say you're only going to do these things, but you really can't do that because of the rules. So it's
Yep.
actually, you can't do that for that
Oh.
amount of money, or you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we went through this with the iBuyer stuff where, you know, oh, they even got into with the new homes, right? So, but people learned really quickly that iBuyer wasn't exactly what it was worth because all their fees. And they got 6% realtor fees, like, and additional fees. So people started wisening up and going, yeah, I'm not doing this. I'm not paying this. And the contracts changed, the price changed, and now look at where they're all at. So they're having to adjust their business plans. They overpaid and now they have houses they're stuck with. So you can pull in the MLS and do a search just off of the brokerage, you know, how many houses they own. Like iBuyer flooded the MLS last year, all the open door listings and OfferPad. So I don't know. It's just hard because you got to write it out. There's always new things coming up. There's always new businesses opening, just like with COVID, you know. You saw dealers changing and making ventilators instead of vehicles. And so that's the point of this book
Yeah.
is as markets shift around you, you can be aware of it, monitor it, and then maybe change what you're doing. But that's why they're saying get your content out there because the market can shift like that.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, people are going to see the commercials or they're like, oh, I can just pay an agent $50, $500 or something to help me write a contract or to help me sell my house. But if you have all your marketing out there, the people that do see value in you, they're the ones that are going to contact you.
Mhm.
So, and not so focused on just that one other. That's why we prospect every day. We should be prospecting constantly to fill your pipeline up. How you go about that, that's going to be up to you and your business, right? Trying to pull some of his words out.
It's always painful, you know, when people
Yeah.
come to the market with the discount listings like that. I remember when the 3K listings came out in the homie. And I mean, there was a
Yeah.
time when everybody was coming out with the discounts, and it was rough because you go talk to people and it's just tough to really show your value to them, especially when things are selling in 2 seconds. You know, they're like, it doesn't really matter how good you are. Well, I don't really care. Like, if anybody that puts my house on the market, it's going to have 20 offers in 25 seconds. So why do I care? You know, who does it? It doesn't matter to me. And I'm not negotiating anything because I'm going to
Yeah.
have 50 offers coming in. So I really don't need you. And it got to the point during that time where I'm like, they're right. They are right. I probably wouldn't pay anybody either because all you need is a 5-year-old to type the information on the MLS. And then you got to call security to stand in front of the house because within an hour, it's going to be sold way overpriced, no repairs, no contingencies. And so, yeah, do they really need me? So I got to the point where I was like, realistically, they don't. Like, it doesn't matter who lists the house. So it was really hard to, you know, say, hey, I'm really good at this.
Right.
So I think you know, you have to be really good at providing value, but the market also has to be right for your value to make sense to people. You know, if it's hard to sell a house, then they are all willing to pay even the
Right.
full 6%, right? If you're in a market where it's like, oh my gosh, every listing is expiring and it's so hard to sell. And now you come in and you have a real plan, you have a marketing plan for them. You show how good you are, what kind of value you bring to the table. You're an amazing negotiator. And, you know, you really know that you can sell the house because that's what you do. Then yes, that makes sense. But if you have a market where things sell in 2 seconds, and I think these people that come into the market, like the 3K listings, I think they have a really big understanding of that as well, because they come in when houses do sell in 30 seconds.
Mhm.
So they're like,
The
this is how we
marketing
take
changes.
over.
They're monitoring the market, and they came up with a marketing that fits it.
Yeah, exactly. And it made sense. I mean, I remember
Uh-huh.
telling my husband, maybe I should go work for 3K listings, because if I were a seller right now, that's where I would go. All I need is somebody to type up my listing on the MLS, and I know it's going to sell. Realtors right now, like listing agents right now, have no real value, because, as soon as it hits, it's going to sell way above, and there are going to be multiple offers, no contingencies, no repairs. Like every offer was like that, right? No contingencies, no repairs. Like, we'll pay this much above, and that's it. So I was like, well, if I were selling right now, I would definitely go with a $3,000 flat fee, because it makes sense. And I think if the market all of a sudden shifts, and prices are low, and you can choose from hundreds of properties, and you can negotiate as much as you want. Sellers are giving houses away, and an
Mhm.
agent comes in and says, oh, I will write a contract for you for 3,000. It's hard for me to argue that doesn't make sense, depending on the market that we're in. And I know I shouldn't say that, because as a realtor,
Oh,
but
no, it's fair.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's the reality of it. It's
Yeah.
really tough being an agent. I mean, I've been an agent now for 20 years, and there's so many changes and so many ups and downs. And some markets are better than others, and
Mhm.
they're easier to work at. And when you say, that we're gonna see buyers agents doing that, I
Mhm.
want to like cry.
Yep.
I'm like, why do
It's
we?
coming.
I feel like as agents, we should be the ones to respect the profession enough to not go down that road. Like, that's how I see it. Because as a buyer and a seller, again, if the market makes sense to have any idiot list or write an offer, why not? That's what the market's
Mhm.
doing right now. It makes sense. So I feel like, I always said that. I feel like the National Association of Realtors, they're useless. But, the regional associations, I feel like we should be the ones to set the bar and say, no, 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 we have a minimum standard. Like, I have Airbnb condos in Mexico. We have a minimum standard. It's called the minimum allowed published rate. Like, as owners, as business owners, we're like, you know what, we have to keep some respect. So no, you're not allowed to go publish and say that your 2-bedroom is going for $200 a night. The minimum between this date and this date is $350, and the minimum between this date and this date is $450, and that's it. You can give it away to somebody, but you're not publishing it anywhere. And I think as professional realtors, that should be the minimum standard. You can do whatever you want, but you can't go publishing around that you're going to list for 3,000, or you're going to write a contract for 3,000. I feel like as realtors, that's what we should be fighting for, with all these
Yeah.
associations that we pay. Why don't you guys create like a minimum standard for our profession? You can do whatever you want, but you can't advertise and you can't publish that you're doing things for 3,000,
Yeah.
or even scams, like scammy ads that they allow. What's
72
his
is
name?
probably
Yeah,
gonna get hit with a big
that
one,
one.
actually. It's
Uh-huh.
coming.
That one,
It's
that one.
coming.
When I say
Yeah.
scammy, or Curtis
Yeah.
Johnson, oh,
Yeah.
we sell your house in 2 hours guaranteed. Like, no, don't do that.
No, you
That's
don't.
not fair competition. Like,
Yeah.
that's a very scammy ad. That is not really the truth. You can't really do that. Like,
Yeah.
they make it sound like they're better than the rest of the agents in the state of Arizona. We're all losers. And that's what the client is hearing. It's like the customer, or the client is listening, and they're thinking, oh, wow, these guys are better than all the other agents in the valley, because they are so good that they guarantee that they're going to sell in 72 hours. And that hurts the consumer. You go read the reviews, and the reviews are awful. So I feel like all these associations, they don't do anything at all. They just
No, I
they
think
get us
our
in
biggest
trouble.
shift, it's not gonna be so much the buyer's commission. Like, we'll adjust and we figure that part out. It's gonna be the boards and the NAR, those fees. So that's probably what's gonna change. And I don't know why we have like 7 different MLSs in Arizona. So there'll probably be a shift of what are we paying for? Why do we have to belong? Like you can see some of the bigger brokerages now are starting to pull from NAR and some of the boards, like they're doing that in Washington. But it's interesting, like Canada, they get 6-7%, sometimes higher commissions. Their whole presentations and their marketing is, what are you going to do for it? So their clients are paying the high commissions. They're sitting back and kind of laughing at the US, but they go over and above. You know,
Mexico is the same.
yeah,
Yeah.
we don't do that. And there's so many realtors out there, but I
But
think
in
marketing
Mexico,
boards- Mhm.
they're not allowed. It's kind of like what I just said. The association in Rocky Point, the Association of Realtors down there, they are not allowed to sell a house for less than 6%. That's how it's not negotiable. It's a set 6%. That's how much it is if you're going to use an agent to sell your place. It's 3% to the buyer, 3% to the seller, to the listing agent. And there's no variable commissions either. So I couldn't take the 6% and then offer 2. That's how it is across the board. And I feel like that's how it should be. But it's like, I don't know why here in the US, it's like, oh no, you could never, redlining, blockbusting, all these
Yeah.
crazy ideas that they get. And it's like, no, we do a job here and that's how it is. Like, that's what it should
Well-
be. It should be, 6%, 3 and 3, and that's it. And everybody should have to do that.
The more of is you're going to be shifting from a relationship business into a transactional business. Is truly how it's probably going to end up, because that's what those agents are doing. The 72 sold, the $900 flat fee, 500. It has nothing to do with relationships. It's getting volume so they can produce. But the thing is, and that's what the relationship agents are missing, is that, but now when a relationship is set, right? And if those agents keep marketing and they're still out there, that's who their clients are going to call again. So probably even if they did a horrible job. So you have to change your mindset of, yeah, you may have to reduce commissions to get clients, to get transactions, and then to get more and more, right? Because you still remember those transactions are going to refer to you. So it's a tripling effect. And that's what the whole lawsuit was about, is that there shouldn't be a set price. That's what that's coming down to. It should be negotiated. It should be adjusted. I get where you're coming from, but again, like Carol had said too, is most people now can get all the information out on the internet. They only need us to get into the house. They can read everything on all the other sites about that property. So they need us to get in the house, unless there's an iBuyer listing, right? And then they need you for a contract. But then you come into play where the listing agent's going to be the dual agent. So you probably see that again. The listing agent's going to, hey, for this fee, I'll just represent both of you, which we had that too. Us buyer agents got burned over and over again because the buyers are like, well, I really want this house, and the only way I can get my contract accepted is if I work with the listing agent. One of our agents called me over the weekend, and her buyer was making an offer, and the house was originally listed at $399 and it needed some work, the pool. But over the weekend, they reduced the price to $369. So our agent spent 2 days with me. She was like, what do we do? She's like, my clients want to make an offer at list price. And I go, oh, $369, and ask for closing costs. And I go, look at your comps, because they reduced their price by 30 grand to get a bidding war. They weren't taking offers till Monday. So just because it's listed at now at $369 doesn't mean they're taking an offer at $369. They're really wanting that $399 price. They just reduced it super low so they could get some activity and offers coming in and make a little bidding war. And her clients didn't, they just can't, they're focused now on that list price. I said, well, you can only make an offer based on what they want to do, but you're probably not going to get it, honestly. And the comps were over 400,000. So they had already listed lower because of repairs. So it's just people get focused on those numbers and the situation, and they're not seeing the bigger picture. But I had to explain it to our agent because she was like, what do you mean? I go, they're not going to take an offer at 369. They're not going to take an offer at 375. They're just not. They're probably not looking at 380. They want to get close to that 399. And that's what 72 sold does. They list super low so they can get a whole bunch of offers. And but the seller isn't focused on that. They're just like, wow, look at all these offers you got. And they're hyped up on the bidding. You think about Barrett Jackson, like it's all the hype. And you're like, oh, look, I got 10 offers to choose from. All right. They may not even have gotten the sales price that they were wanting, but they were focused on, wow, our agent got all these offers within 2 days, like 3 days. You're amazing. Well, yeah, because you listed so low and you just affected the market for the whole neighborhood. But the listing
Yeah.
agents aren't saying that. And you can't control what other agents are telling their clients. So at some
Right.
point, that's why we're talking. You got to shift your mentality in your business. So it's watching more and more. Even my clients, if they're going to list through me and buy, I'll list their house and sell it for $500, $1,000. Like, yeah. So I'm no different than those other brokerages out there. Right?
That's right. Yeah. I really, like I said, I just wish that the association would keep things more professional for us.
Yeah.
Because it is the wild, wild west. Anything and everything is done. There's so many scams that go around. And I'm like, why do we pay all these associations? Why do we have the Arizona Department of Real Estate? It's like I'm about to
Yeah.
renew my license here before the end of this month. And the amount of money that we pay to these people and they do nothing. Like, I mean, it is a bad joke. They allow anything and everything to go on. And I also believe that that's why so many people dislike realtors and why realtors have kind of a bad reputation these days,
True.
That's why you see, for sale by owners, when I talk to for sale by owners, they hate realtors.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I don't want to list with a realtor because every realtor is dishonest and, I can do it on my own. They overcharge. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate because I don't think any of that should happen. I feel like, we should have a profession that has some sort of, and they have so many classes, the code of conduct and this. I'm like, this is just all a waste of time because in real life, everybody does whatever they want. I just took all the classes to renew my license. I usually do them throughout the year. I was going to give up my license, so I did them all now when I met you, and I was like, okay, I've decided I'm going to do real estate again. So I did all the classes at once, and I'm just blown away because everything they talk about in these classes, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
The last one that I
Well-
took, they were like, oh, you got to make sure that, when you get multiple offers, that your client signs rejecting every single one of them and you send it to the other agent. I'm like, are you kidding me? For the past 5 years, I've never received one contract
No.
with that last page signed by a seller saying it was rejected. I normally wouldn't even get a phone call. Like, I would have to chase after these people saying, hey, how about my offer? Like, was it rejected? Did you accept? And then I know how I would find out that my offer was rejected by going to the MLS and seeing that it was pending or under contract.
Well, so we went through you can watch the cycles, like, we had the iBuyers and then the whole wholesaling. Wholesaling now is just a fluff word, right? Lisa and I monitored a massive brokerage that they were wholesaling and assigning so many illegal. It was unbelievable. We fired agents over that. But again, it takes a couple years and ADRE will catch up. But during the time, it's frustrating, right? So do you adjust your business and your business model to that, what's going on? Or do you keep doing what you're doing? And I don't know, like that's
I think in
It's
this
hard.
situation, you definitely do not want to shift because
No.
if you're going to shift, we're going to become the
Yeah.
3K, listings. We're
Yeah.
going to do
No.
the contracts at 3K. We're going to tell people we sell
Yeah.
houses in 72 hours. And so then the
Right.
question is, do you really want to shift? Because that's the shift. Like if you want to
Exactly.
really, continue to grow as much as you were before and have the same amount of listings, so basically that's the recommendation, right? So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really don't know what to say. I haven't. So when it comes to that, I haven't really shifted. And because I didn't, I have my
Yeah.
ups and downs, like I said, if the market is normal, it's a balanced market, it's great to be a normal agent. But when the market completely shifts the way it did, I did not shift with it. So maybe I'm not going to do as well as somebody who is shifting. So I don't know. What do you think?
I think I take it from just like what we're talking about is you shift your messaging, you shift your marketing, and you shift how you get business, right? So maybe it's marketing to other agents in out of state or in Mexico, those people that decide they want to buy up here, or connecting internationally, right? Because other agents see value in other agents, right? So if you can even market and send messages, like I send out a monthly newsletter, but I haven't embraced putting a video in there. I really haven't. Why? I don't know. I don't know. So I think there's little things you can do to shift, to set yourself apart, and to get your messaging and your value out there. And get and attract the audience that does see value in what you're doing and that want to work with you. Like all day long, I typically don't work with investors. I just don't attract that. And I'm not that type of it. To me, I have too much going on for that. Other agents work great with investors, but depending on your messaging and who you're connecting with, now it's okay. So grow your audience. We have so many resources that you can tap different systems and technology to get out there, do monthly or bi-monthly Zoom presentations, talk about a buyer presentation, do a listing presentation, talk about the market, show them the MLS, and you'll have people coming in on Zoom that are not in Arizona, right? You don't know what people are thinking, if they're going to move here, if they're leaving here. It could be other agents. It could be, I've had clients from Norway and Spain. So it's Zoom or Facebook going live and talking about things. So I think it's just changing shift of how we do every day. And then changing your message. I think that's what has to be too. Instead of just posting the just listed, just sold, which is, a lot of the coaching that we've been hearing, that is what's repetitive. I have noticed. It's definitely repetitive. Because they're the people with the money, and I'll say that again, the people with the money, just like going to a plastic surgeon or an attorney, they're not coming in with the coupons and they're not asking for discounts. They want good service, right? They want good quality service. That's what they're willing to pay for. So you have to change and up your clientele. That's all. You're going to get those out there that are cheap and discount. So you just decide, are you working with them or are you going to go find other clients? And I think that's the shift, truly.
Yeah, I agree with all of that.
Yeah.
I think the future of, and I think even though it's moving towards, transactional, I feel like at the end of the day, we're all humans, and
Yeah.
it's always about relationships. Everything I do in my life is always based on relationships, even coming to Bliss Realty, because I felt like I like and trust you, so I feel like everything in life at the end of the day is about the relationships. I was even looking for a brokerage that have more of like a family feel to it.
Yeah.
So I think as
Yeah.
humans, we're always going to crave that no matter
Mhm.
what. And I love what you said about the cheap people. So there's always going to be the people that, are
Always.
looking for that $3,000 listing, or, write a contract for $995. But if you work with quality people, you're
Yeah.
always going to find the ones
Yeah.
that are like, no, I want the relationship, I want the service, I want the knowledge, I want the experience.
Yeah.
I want somebody who's going to take care of everything for me. I'm not going to be the one having to find open doors, to go into the house by myself. Like, I do want you to open the door,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
and so, and I also love what you said about, videos. And I really, really believe that anything that we do from this point forward, it's going to be about building relationships with people online.
It
I have
is.
built, I built another business in 21 countries through Facebook. And so that's what it is. Back in the day, we built relationships one-on-one, going to the chamber meeting, and, going to BNI and Lit Tip and all of these
Yeah.
networking events. Now we build relationships with people on YouTube and Facebook,
Yeah.
because once people start to see you in a video again and again and again, and you're talking a little bit about yourself, making it a little bit personal, hey, I'm Trisha. And, yeah, today I was so busy because my 17-year-old is going to college and I had to run to ASU really quick to do this and that. But today we're going to talk about, the buyer process and how that works. So now you can have, thousands of people while you're sleeping watching you, and they begin to feel like they know, like,
Correct.
and trust you. And when they buy a
Yeah.
house, or if they know of somebody who's buying a house, they may refer. So I really believe that. I think that's the future of
It is.
success in real estate, is building those relationships online. That's the shift.
Yeah, and sharing little tidbits about yourself, because just talking that you have a son getting ready to graduate to go to ASU, there's a ton of people that are going through that, right? And people out of the state that might be looking for a property for their college student. So they're just in those little words, it's who can you reach by sharing something personal about you. And I know we're almost done, but we went to Barrett-Jackson, the big car auction, right? They only do 4 a year. Their commissions are set. So they get X amount of money. You have to pay for bidding passes. You have to show the amount of money you have. Like, Barrett is like a steam of the steam for auction, right? And then you pay a 3% commission. If you're buying or selling, you're paying to Barrett commission.
They
Those
both
are the
are. I
standards,
looked it up.
right?
They both
Uh-huh.
are.
Yep. And my aunt and uncle went, and my husband and father-in-law went to another auction at Fort McDowell Casino on Saturday. And we were all day at Barrett, right? I was exhausted, and there's thousands and thousands of cars. So my aunt and uncle came home, and she goes, first off, difference of clientele, number one. They only had a couple hundred cars. They all had reserves. So no one at Barrett has reserves, maybe a couple, I've seen. This lower end auction had reserves, and they were priced high, all high. And my aunt said you could look at the cars and the quality, and these vehicles were not taken care of. So Barrett has a certain standard. So what do you want to be, a Barrett or this other casino auction? Where, okay, you listed your vehicle for sale in there. You didn't have to pay a high commission. Buying, you didn't have to pay a commission. But now the quality's low, and they're still trying to get the Barrett pricing. But their vehicles weren't selling. They weren't hitting the reserves. And the condition was horrible. So do you want a Walmart client, or do you want like a Nordstrom client, right? And that's going to be, unless the entire market shifts and now our business is that flat transaction, that flat commission, then yeah, we're going to have to change. But I think if you're still a relationship person, it's always going to be a relationship for you. What changes is how we market, who we market to, in your messaging. And the younger agents, they're not even selling houses, but it's their marketing, and they're getting business from that. So our age group's we gotta make a shift a little bit. But it was interesting. I said, oh, so Barrett was worth it then. At the end, it's worth to pay those commissions because they sell those vehicles for just a higher dollar amount. And that's what you have to remember is it wasn't about that commission. You want to focus in on, but I can get you more. So that's going to be your presentations. A buyer, I'm going to represent you better. We're going to negotiate. I'm going to follow you all the way through closing of ensuring you're getting the best product, right? And the best offer. And, or if not, we walk away. And same thing with the seller. Like, well, that's great. You listed the house low and you got 20 offers, but they might have all been crap. So, you know, reviewing and talking to all those lenders and all those agents to figure out what's the best offer and then to follow it through the transaction. It's again, we're breaking down and explaining our value, and that's stuff we need to make videos about, you know?
One thing that I always told, people that tried to negotiate with me, like, oh, but the homies are doing for 3,000 or whatever. What I used to always say to listings, listing appointments was, I could negotiate this with you down to $3,000, but then would you really want to hire me if that's my negotiation capability? If
Right.
as soon as you
Yeah.
come to me and say, oh, I will pay you 3,000. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm desperate. What do you think I'm gonna do when an offer comes in for your house and it's low?
We're taking it.
Yeah, I'm weak and I can't negotiate. So you probably don't want to work with an agent who's, dropping their commission down to zero because obviously they don't have any value to offer.
They don't care.
Yeah. And I've been
And
really
that right there's a video.
Yeah, I mean, I've dropped commissions in the past,
Yeah.
but that was, it was different situations. Like, I had, a family that was selling 3 houses in Scottsdale and buying this gigantic house in Queen Creek, a custom home in Queen Creek, because the in-laws were moving in with them and they had casitas at the new one. I'm not going to charge these people 6% on 3 listings, plus they're buying a $1.2 million house in Queen Creek. I offered the discount because I was like, you know what, they're giving me a lot of business, a lot of trust in a short amount of time. But the discount was 5% on each listing.
Yeah.
It's not 3,000, so it's like, I think it's okay, especially now. I think most
it is.
people are probably listing for 5%, 4.5%, and that's okay. The problem comes in is when you're like, oh, I'll do it because there were people listing. I don't know if you saw this one, for $779, they were listing.
Yeah.
$779. I'm like, what? And what blows my mind is I wouldn't do it. I don't want it. Like, trust me, I'm not taking 5 minutes to list something for less than $1,000. It's a lot of work. And I think something that people really miss too is the fact that being a realtor is very expensive.
Yeah.
We're paying all the associations, the Department of Real Estate. We have to pay the MLS. We're paying for the keys. It's a lot of expenses and a lot of work, and it takes a lot of knowledge and patience and negotiation skills. So again, I feel like when we allow people to do that in our profession, it really cheapens what we do.
Yeah.
But it's
We're
unfortunate
that
it's not
that
regulated.
Yeah. It's the same with attorneys. Like you can see all the accident lawyers and all the plastic surgery, and you can hear all the discounts and the fees, and people are like, oh, I got this infection, or I got this horrible attorney. He really didn't get me what I thought I was going to get. Well, yeah, you paid at the bottom of the barrel for representation. But
well, that's a video right there. That's a video. Hey, have you seen like the doctors? We're just like the doctors and the attorneys. If you want to get a good one, you got to pay for it.
Do you guys, for reading next month, I know Who Not How has been brought up to me. Traction. So these are both Dan Sullivan books, which I didn't know that. And then I pulled up exactly what to say for real estate agents, a little black book. Reverse selling, turn cold calls into clients. Secrets of master closer.
Reverse selling is really good.
In fact, I have 3 Dan Sullivan. I actually got the 10X by Dan Sullivan too. I think it's better than the Grant Cardone one, but what do you guys want to read? What are you thinking, Carol?
I'm open for whatever. Are other people reading the books other than us that are just reviewing it?
I got some texts, yeah, that some agents were reading. They just weren't on the Zoom.
Yeah.
Which reverse selling, if we're doing the FSBO class, this seems to talk about conversations with FSBOs.
Are those thinking in line of the book that we just read, are they good items for a shift?
Yeah, I think when real estate commissions are always being discussed and in the news, I mean, we're probably, whether this is talking about FSBOs or not, it's probably giving us good things to say to our clients in general, would be my guess, right? Just normal discussions and prospecting. Like this is talking about prospecting and what to say.
Yeah, I'm open for whatever. What
It's
is
not a
Tricia-
super thick book either. Okay. You
Okay.
good with that, Trisha, even though you've already read it?
Yeah, I would totally read it again. That's a great
Okay.
book.
Cool.
What was the name of it again?
Reverse selling,
Oh, I've
turning
seen
cold
that.
calls into clients, which we have agents that do the internet leads and, you know,
Okay, sounds good.
yeah. Okay. Sweet. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
All right. I'll put this out and then
Thank
we have
you.
another Zoom at 11. Yeah. Thanks, Trisha. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye,
Thanks.
guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.